During the late Middle Ages, the Roman Catholic Church had great power over the nobility as well as just the common man. The sacraments of the Roman Church is a works-based religious system that promises forgiveness of sins and a right relationship with God. One aspect of this religious system is a concept called indulgences. An indulgence is a remission before God of the temporal punishment due to sins whose guilt has already been forgiven. During the late Middle Ages, indulgences were being sold in order to fund various religious and civil building projects. Many of these were very lavish. The most famous is St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Pope Leo X authorized an indulgence to be distributed to the faithful when they contributed to this particular project. There was one particular friar who became a notorious example of religious manipulation by deceiving the masses into buying this particular indulgence. Tetzel's famous quote, "As soon as a coin in the coffer rings, the soul from purgatory springs," summarized the mechanical, man-centered transaction that was at the heart of the sacramental system. Tetzel represented the extreme abuses in the sacramental system. However, he exposed the actual problem, which was the very heart of the sacramental system, namely Systemism. I made up the term Systemism, and I define Systemism as placing one's faith in a system to save rather than trusting in the Savior alone to save. Once again, Tetzel represented the extreme abuses of the sacramental system. But there were many other careful sacramentalists. One could think of some famous sacramentalists such as Erasmus. Most would agree that he was far more careful than someone like Tetzel. While this may be true, he was perhaps even more dangerous. Erasmus still believed in Systemism through the sacramental system of the Roman Catholic Church. The reasonable demeanor and the careful approach of Erasmus made the false gospel of Rome even more difficult to detect. Both men were false teachers, promoting the false gospel of Systemism to the masses. If people performed the right actions, they were assured of their right standing before God. They were assured of forgiveness even if there was no evidence that their life was changed. These people were deceived by a system that didn't care about the glory of God and did not care about their souls. The people who died trusting in the sacramental system for the forgiveness of their sins were damned. They trusted in a system, not the Savior. I believe that the heresy that's responsible for leading more people to hell than any other in modern times in the evangelical and Protestant world is the heresy that I call Systemism. I define Systemism simply as placing one's faith in a system to save rather than trusting in the Savior alone to save. People are being directed to place their faith in someone or something other than the person of Jesus Christ alone for salvation. So let me say that again. Systemism is a false gospel message that's directing people to place their faith in someone or something other than the person of Jesus Christ. This term is a broad term that could encompass many different beliefs, but the primary issue is that people are being directed to place their faith in someone or something other than the person of Jesus Christ alone for salvation. It is my belief that this false gospel message has given more people a false assurance of salvation than any other belief. Preachers tell men that they're saved by trusting in an action or a choice that they've made. Those people are then confident in their relationship with God. Their consciences are pacified and their need for the true rebirth is clouded by deceit. Since this false gospel of Systemism has been declared as the true gospel for generations now in the evangelical and Protestant world, countless millions are assured, have a false assurance that they're right with God because at one point in their lives, they prayed a superstitious prayer. Why do people preach this message? Well, many preachers do it because they do not care about the glory of God and they do not care for the souls of men. They abuse people for their own selfish gain. They do not love souls, but they only care about the praise of men and financial gain or comfort. One experience that demonstrates this very well is when I was much younger and I was attending a First Baptist church. There was an evangelist who came to town. And this particular evangelist was a children's evangelist. Before the main service, this evangelist went around to all of the classrooms where the children were. And he was telling the children that they would receive a prize if they came down to the front at the end of the service. And of course, at the end of the service, many children came down and they received a toy. When all the children were down at the front, he then proceeded to lead them all in a sinner's prayer. He asked them to repeat the prayer after him, and then he publicly declared all of those children to be saved. These are human souls who've been manipulated for the gain of some evangelist or pastor. These children have been manipulated and will potentially live their entire lives with the false assurance of salvation. Such preachers are the present-day Tetzels. Other preachers have a zeal without knowledge. They do not preach Systemism out of malice, but they do it because they believe they're doing a service to people. They believe they're being careful in their use of these tactics. They are the present-day Erasmuses. Both the careless preachers and the careful preachers of Systemism have the same problem at the foundational level.